Hey, what's up everyone, Saint here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at some Warhammer lore today. Now when we're talking about Warhammer, there are so many conflicts, wars, everything's going on. I mean, it's in the name, Warhammer, so. And this is actually one of the biggest ones, actually the first one to happen, and because of the events of what happened here is actually the reason why some races and factions exist in the universe, like the Eldari, Orcs, and Necrons. And all this stuff takes place way before the main two settings. So without dragging the intro on any longer, let's just get right into it. Before they became the evil undead space robots we all know and love, the Necrons were originally flesh and blood mortals, known as the Necron tier, a species that seemed to be all out of luck and could never catch a break. The Necron tier probably have one of the saddest backstories in the universe. To understand this species fully, we have to go back billions of years before the current setting of Warhammer 40k. The Necron tier lived a horrible existence, being exposed to constant radiation. The many generations of the Necron tier were plagued with radiation poisoning, which ultimately led to them living short and extremely painful lives. And to the Necron tier, there seemed to be no escape from this plague. The entire culture of their species was based around their suffering and untimely demise, as their cities were constructed to be giant, sprawling tombs, and massive monuments were constructed, dedicated to the dead. But some of the Necron tier still held hope and looked to the stars. In a last-ditch attempt to save their species, the Necron tier took to the skies and forged one of the greatest empires the galaxy has ever seen, constantly trying to find ways to rid themselves of their curse, until one of the Necron tier expeditions that led them to discover new life among the stars. They had encountered another species known as the Old Ones. The Old Ones were powerful, godlike beings. It is also believed that the Old Ones are responsible for creating the life in the galaxy, as they had planted the seeds of many empires and watched them grow. But there was one thing that the Old Ones had that the Necron tier desperately wanted, and that was the secrets to immortality. The only thing that could save their species from further suffering, finally set them free from their curse. As the Old Ones were sympathetic to the Necron tier's situation, they would not help, as they had vowed to not interfere with the beings of the galaxy and let nature run its course. When the Necron tier heard this, they were infuriated, and they grew to hate the Old Ones for refusing to help them. But the Old Ones weren't the only problems the Necron tier were facing, as the empire they took so long to build started to crumble from within, as the many different Necron dynasties were seeking independence and started declaring war on each other. These were known as the War of Secession. During these times, the Silent King Sharik was searching for ways to save the Necron tier empire, as he saw the fate of his people lie in his hands. The Silent King had come up with an idea to unite his people against a common enemy, the Old Ones, the ones who had denied the Necron tier of long and prosperous lives, and who had damned his people to an eternity of suffering. And his plan had succeeded, uniting the Necron tier dynasties against a common foe, leading them to declare war on the Old Ones. Now, the actual war in heaven took place in two different kind of parts. The first time ending with the Necron tier suffering such massive losses and being practically destroyed by the Old Ones, as the Necron tier had underestimated their foes. But it was around this time that luck would start to turn for the Necron tier, as the Necron tier made contact with another race of godlike beings, known as the Catan. The Catan were massive godlike beings who devoured energy from the stars, but like the Necron tier, they also had hatred for the Old Ones. So the Necron tier worshipped them as gods, and in return the Catan bestowed upon them many gifts, including the one thing that the Necron tier had been seeking all along, immortality. But this would come at a price, with them not being able to live in their mortal bodies anymore. A process known as the Great Biotransference occurred, transferring the mind of every single Necron tier into metal bodies. And with this process, the Necron tier as a species were no more, and the Necrons were born. And now in their newfound bodies, and gods at their side, the Necrons again waged war on the Old Ones, aiming to destroy them. The war in heaven became the largest conflict the galaxy had ever seen, with both sides suffering massive losses. But the tide of the war slowly started to turn in favor of the Necrons, so the Old Ones had decided to use their knowledge to create new Xenos races to help them fight in the war. They created the Eldari to be strong psychic warriors who could connect themselves to the warp and channel its power. And they created the Krorks to be used as strong frontline soldiers who were practically unstoppable on the battlefield. And the Krorks are actually ancestors to the current Orcs in the setting. But for the Old Ones, it seemed to be already too late, as the Catan and the Necron tier had pushed them back and were on the verge of destroying the Old Ones. But before the Catan and Necrons could deliver deliver the final blow to the Old Ones, a chain of unexpected events began to occur. Now, before the events of the War in Heaven, the Warp was a peaceful place where souls would go to live out the rest of their time in the afterlife. But as the War in Heaven became bigger and more widespread, the billions of souls that met violent ends began to twist the Warp and turn it into an evil place, creating malicious spirits and demons. And as a result of this, rifts opened up in the material world, unleashing horrors known as the Enslaver Plague, which laid waste to the galaxy and claimed the lives of billions of more innocent souls. But it also left an opening for the Old Ones to slip away, as everyone else was preoccupied with the Enslavers, and eventually the galaxy had found itself at peace again. And now, with the Old Ones defeated and immortality achieved, the Silent King had one more goal to accomplish, and that goal was to destroy the gods that they once worshipped. You see, what the Necron tier didn't realize was the Catan were actually malicious beings, and the Catan that they had made the deal with was actually known as the Deceiver, and had actually tricked them. During the biotransference, the Catan had actually devoured the souls of the billions of Necron tier, which in my opinion was really not cool of them. But the unknowing Necron tier had basically just become slaves to the Catan, with the only one who knew what actually happened being the Silent King, waiting for a time to strike back and seek revenge for his people. The plans were put together in secret, and when the Catan least expected it, the Necrons turned on the gods they once worshipped. The Necrons broke the Catan into shards, reversing the roles on their once masters, and turning them into living weapons. So now they're basically like space Pokemon. And now, finally, the Necrons had destroyed all of their enemies in the galaxy, but it had come at a cost, as their once great empire was no more, and the Aldari had actually taken the Necron spot as the most dominant in the galaxy. So the Silent King had decided the best course of action for his people was to wait for the right time to reclaim their lost empire. So he had ordered the Great Sleep, and all Necrons had gone back to their tomb worlds, and were put to sleep waiting for the right time to return. And after waiting 60 million years, the Necron tier would finally wake up in the 41st millennium to reclaim their great empire. Well guys, that was the War in Heaven. It was a lot of stuff going on, long video. Well, not really long, but it was kind of long, you know. I sat here for a while recording, and I did the script for a little while, and you know, I had some things, changed some things up, so it took me a little bit. And I haven't posted for a couple days, you know, so I want to get more videos out and just post more lore. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a pretty cool video. I like this story, the whole War in Heaven thing. You know, all this stuff kind of sets the stage for what happens in the current timeline of Warhammer. I don't know if I got everything, but I hope I got most of the story together. You know, I did some things, looking at some stuff there. But yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think, like about the video, what you liked about it, what else could I do, you know, what I missed, I don't know. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed, and you know, I'll be making some more, so you should stick around for that, definitely. But yeah, until next time, Salamander Saint, going to sleep on a tomb world. See you guys later.